Great. You enjoying your lunch?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Is it good? Yes. Always good to eat, right? That's important. That's very important. In the Dominican, as Carla mentioned, I'm originally from the Dominican Republic. I moved to Worcester in 2003. Very first time in the U.S. I had been in Europe prior to that, but my very first entrance to the U.S. was in 2003. My mom came here in late 1999, and a few years later we had the opportunity to make it here after a very rough upbringing and difficulty. It's a privilege, it's an honor to be in front of you today. And we say in the Dominican that people that are not well fed, they don't think straight, right? So I want you to think straight for the next few minutes. I'm about to share some concepts that I believe will help you on your journey as a leader, as an individual, as a person of ministry, as a husband, as a wife, as a brother, as a sister, as a friend, as you run an organization, as a partner. I believe that the concepts that I will share with you, if you put them into practice, and this is important, if you put them into practice, they have the potential to change your life. But the key part here is putting them into practice. Because knowing something and not applying it is just like not knowing anything, right? So if you know something and you do not apply it, you might as well don't know anything. I related to the pastor a lot with today because he mentioned wife or his wife several times. You know, family will pull you, your children will pull you. My wife and I, we've been married for 11 years. We created 2 children together, 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. And it is fantastic. And I say, I'm the boss of the house when she's not there. When she's not there, I run the house. But listening to the pastor remind me of a story. Husband and wife, the husband is not doing really well health-wise. And they decide to go to the hospital because the man he's not doing okay. There's something wrong with him. So they go to the hospital, they go see the doctor, and the doctor takes his time asking questions, he closes the door, wife is outside, the doctor is with the man inside, just, you know, talking to him, going through all the examinations, all the analysis and all that. About 2 hours later, 2 hours after that, doctor comes out and the man comes out, and he tells the wife, the doctor tells the wife, hey, can you give me a couple minutes? I would like to speak with you. So doctor goes in, closes the door, and he said, you know, your husband is going through a post-traumatic stress that is chronic. And I'm about to give you some instructions, and unless you follow to the T, to the point, the instructions that I'm about to give you, it is likely that you will lose your husband in the next 6 months. The lady opens her eyes. Doctor, what's going on? Can you tell me? I'm telling you, he's really stressed. So I want you to pay attention because I will give you very specific instructions and you have to follow them as I say. The lady sits on the edge of the chair and says, okay, what's going on? And the doctor said, listen, for the next 6 months, you are to cook a healthy breakfast for your husband. You cannot repeat the same breakfast twice in the same week. For the next 6 months, you are to cook a healthy meal for your husband. And you're not supposed to repeat the same meal twice a week. For the next 6 months, you're going to take him out to a restaurant, different one every single day. Do not allow him to see the bill. You will pay. Do not bother him with chores. Do not talk to him about money before 8 a.m. or after 6 p.m. to look after the kids. All right? All right? He's not to be bothered with chores. And on top of that, you're supposed to make love to him 5 times a week.
That's the perfect one.
Lady says, okay. Comes out of the office. They both get in the car. Dead silence. She's driving. There. Nobody says a word. And Pastor, you're a married man, so if you're like me, when the wife is right there and there's dead silence, there's a problem. Something's not right. The man is dying. He wants to know what's going on, there's dead silence. So eventually he gathers the courage to ask the wife, hey, honey, what did the doctor say? She looks at him and says, you're going to die. She was not about to. All right. So you reminded me of that story. What I want to talk to you today is about how do you feel. We just heard Dave, John, talking about that no one is born a leader. Many times you heard that question. Are leaders born? And I always give the same answer. Of course they are. I've never met a leader that has not been born. In fact, I don't even want to meet a leader that was not born. Right? So I want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about making leaders, how you build a leadership culture, how within this organization, within this family, within this church, how do you build a leadership culture? What is culture? I'm going to give you some definitions. I will take you to a new map. Okay, let me give you what it is that we're going to look at. Okay, first of all, I will define what is it that we call, how we define leadership culture. What is that? What that is. Second, I will tell you why you need a leadership culture, and I will give you a guidance. I will give you steps on how you can build one. But first of all, let me give you an example that will give you an understanding of why culture is the most powerful factor in any organization. Culture is the most powerful factor in any organization. Within this church, is the most powerful thing that you can have. Culture is more important than the vision. That's a big statement. But hear this out. Culture is 10 to 1 more important than the vision. Is the way it is. Yes. Good. Excellent. So I was saying that culture is more important than the vision, and the way that I like to explain this is the following. So, man, what is your name? Yes, sir. Yes, your name. Chisom.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chisom, he has a goal. He has a vision. He comes to the pastor and says, Pastor, I will save $50,000 by January 1st, 2019. That's my vision. All right? My savings account will be $50,000 richer by the time I reach 2009. That's my vision. The pastor asked, how are you going to do that? Well, Pastor, I'm going to work 60 hours a week, Monday through Friday. And on weekends, I'm going to do Uber or Lyft. And I'm going to save all my money. I'm not going to go to the movies. I'm not going to go out for the rest of the year. The shoes that I have today is the shoes that I'm going to have on January 1st. I will not buy a piece of clothing between now and January 1st. That's my strategy. That's my vision. Let's go. Let's do it. Okay. But what happens is that that's his vision. And his friend right here, what is your name, sir, please?
Demola.
Okay, D, right? It's okay, D? Okay. All right, so D is friends with Shishon, right? All right? There we go. And D has a habit of going out to the movies. So he's going to the movies 3 times a week. And because he doesn't want to stay behind, he goes with D. D likes Jordans. He buys 2 pairs. But you don't want to stay behind, so you go and buy 3. See? D goes on vacation down at the Cape, but you want to show off, you go to Colorado, to the Rockies, right? Remember, you have a vision. Now, January 1st comes around, you don't have $50,000. Why is that? Because you had a vision of saving, but you had a culture of spending. And when the vision does not align with the culture, the vision is useless. It doesn't matter how big of a vision you have. If you don't have that culture to align it with the vision, it doesn't matter how big, how good it is, how well does it look like. So that's why culture is the most important thing that you can have as an organization, as a church, as a family. Now, what is culture? Let me give you some statements very quickly. Very quickly. So we say that vision is where we're going. Culture is what we are doing. Vision is where you say that you are going to go. It's where you say that you are going to arrive. That's the picture that you have. Now, whether you arrive there or not, I can say by how you behave. I can say that by how you behave. I was in Rhode Island at a youth conference. And I like to interact with my audience. Every time I like to do that as much as possible. I like to connect with my audience by asking them questions. And I asked this young man, I said, young man, would you allow me to do an exercise with you? I wanted to prove a point. I said, yeah, no problem. Say, do you want to be saved? And if I ask any of you, do you want to be saved? You don't have to answer. I think that the answer will be yes. If you ask me, yes. And I ask him once again, and I say, D, for example, do you want to be saved? Yes. The young man answered yes. For the 3rd time, I ask him, do you want to be saved? He said yes. And then I pause. And I ask him, do you expect to be saved? What you want shows in conversation. What you expect shows in your behavior. So, by the way I behave, let me use myself as an example. By the way I behave, do I expect to be saved? By the way I speak, by the way I treat my wife, that I respond to my children, do I expect to be saved? Do you expect to grow as a leader with the culture that you have? Do you expect to grow as a church with the culture that you have? One thing is what you say, the other thing is what you do. And that's what culture is. Culture is the sum of the habits of what people do. That's what culture is. Culture is no other than the accumulation of the habits that what people do. A culture is nothing more. A culture is nothing more than the sum of the habits of the people. Culture is not what you want it to be. Culture is what people do. Culture is not what you say that is going to be. In the example that I used, he said that he was going to save X amount of money, but then he went and did something completely different. So culture is not what you say is going to be. Culture is what you do. The fastest way to shape a culture is to model what's important. Is to model that what's important. I'm going to repeat that statement several times. Do not tell me what you expect from me. Show me what you expect from me. It's different. You model. It's a lot easier to follow an example than to follow a direction. It's way easier for you to say, this is how it's done, than for you to say, okay, go and do it. And that's what culture is. The culture is not what you say is going to be, it's what you show that it's going to be. Now, culture is not what we say as much as it is as what we do. Our ability to model behavior demonstrates belief that establishes a common language. And that common language creates a culture. Again, there is a common language. And if you think of countries, I come from the Dominican Republic, so my native language is Spanish. I understand that Kola is from Nigeria, correct? My best man from my wedding is from Nigeria. I understand that you speak your own language. You have, even though everybody there speaks English for the most part, right? But you have your own native language, right? If you go to China, Japan, you go to Germany, that culture is identified according to its language. So when you create a culture, when you create a leadership culture, you as an organization, there has to be a language. There must be an RCCG language. At RCCG, we are X. At RCCG, we do X. At RCCG, we expect X. That's our culture. That's our DNA. That's what you do. Right? So there is a common language. So the question is, what is your common language? You should, as a leader, you should be asking that. Common language establishes belief that establishes behavior. My belief drives my behavior. My beliefs drive my behavior. For example, very quickly, and Carl, I know you heard this before, right? There is a holiday in November this year. At the end of November, what's the name of the holiday? Thanksgiving. And did that happen last year? Yeah. Did it happen 5 years ago? Yeah. If we're still here, is it going to happen in 2020? Yeah. What is that? That's a belief. That's a culture. You know, I have my son, Misael Jr., he's 8 years old. If you ask him what Thanksgiving is, he knows what Thanksgiving is. Because it's part of the culture here. He was born here, so it's part of the culture. Here's the thing. As a leader, culture, leadership culture is not culture if it's not taught at the lowest level. Okay? If you wait for me to become a very philosophical or very successful person to then teach me the culture, it's not sustainable. But more importantly, your leadership culture or your culture is not really a culture if it's not predictable. If we can predict that Thanksgiving is going to happen next year, if we're still here, right? God willing, we're still here. We're going to have Thanksgiving. That's predictable. And I can predict if I remain on this earth, 10 years from now, we're going to celebrate Thanksgiving. That's a culture. Your culture is not sustainable if it's not predictable. And culture is not culture if it's not taught at the lowest level. Any kid here, you go into the class with the kids, and you ask a child 5, 6, 7 years old, they will know what culture is, what Thanksgiving is. So here's my question. And you will notice I like to ask a lot of questions. Because I believe that the answers are in the questions, not in the story. Right? The answers are in the questions that we ask. And as a leader, the moment you believe you know all the answers, you have stopped asking the right questions. Any person that, when you come across me, you talk to me, and you feel like I know all the questions or that I know all the answers, automatically you should say, Misael has stopped asking the right questions. The moment you know all the answers, you stop asking the right questions. So here's the thing. Can I pull any of your kids aside and ask them, what is a leader at RCCG? What is a leadership culture at RCCG? Can I do that? It's important to keep in mind. I'm here to make you comfortable. I'm here to give you these concepts so you can use them and you can continue growing. I'm not picking you out. I'm not picking on you. I'm just giving you understanding that perhaps it's there, but you never thought of it. Leaders are responsible for the culture of the organization. It is more important to show what is being done than to explain what is expected. Behavior must be modeled more than it must be communicated. Behavior must be modeled more than it must be communicated. Now, that's the definition of culture. Let's talk about now why do you need a leadership culture? Why is it important? Why is it important? I've been careful all the time. I want to go fast enough that I cover this concept for you, but it's slow enough for you to grab it. Okay? Now, we just heard Dave say that leadership puts a lid in the organization. What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, there is a book, a very popular book, sold more than 4 million copies by my mentor John, 2 million alone in China. Right? It's called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Very popular book. Now, in that book, the very first law is called the law of the lid. Law of the lid, L-I-D. Law of the lid. And what the law of the lid says, that my ability to lead determines how successful I will become. My ability to lead determines how successful I will become. What does that mean? Well, that means that my organization is a representation of who I am. If I'm only good about leading 3, 4, 5 people, or 3, 4, 5 leaders, or equipping 3, 4, 5 leaders, that means that my organization will be just that, because that's my leading capacity. So if I want to increase the number of my organization, or the size of my organization, what should I do? I should increase my lead, and that's me. For example, I stack all these chairs, one on top of the other, right now, right here. Eventually, I want to get to the ceiling. If I wanted to continue stacking chairs on top of the other, what should I do? I raise the ceiling. So the leader is the ceiling. The organization, the people within the organization, the leaders below that leader, the church, the family, my friends, they will never rise above the leader. Never. The leadership puts a lid on the organization. Your ability to create a leadership culture, or not, will limit your organization. Here's why. If you have enough leaders in the organization, you can scale faster than anyone. What does that mean? Here's the thing. When you have people that are ready to go, and I work a lot with companies, I work with corporations, and here's one advice that I give to corporations a lot. Hire people that are overqualified for the position that you're hiring for. Hire people that are overqualified for the position that you are hiring for. Why? Because if you are overqualified for the position that I need, and I lose someone down the road, I can promote you very quickly. Because you're ready to go. It's about empowerment. It's about empowering others. I have my own definition of empowerment. And if you want to write that down, I think it's really good. I used it a lot. A lot of people have seen a lot of success by doing this. So I want to share with you. This is how Misael Diaz defines empowering. This is not from the dictionary. This is my own. So I take it as a B, right? So if it's good, good. If it's not, then blame me. Right? But to empower others, what does that mean? This is how I define it. It's to invest my resources. And resources, call it time, money, knowledge, skills, relationships, position, access, network, whatever that is, right? So, to empower someone is to invest my resources, to train you, and position you to do things that I want to do, but I let you do it so you can credit. Let's go back to that. To empower thee is to invest my resources to train him. Why train him? Because I need to equip him first. I need to train him, give him the skills, give him the opportunity. Now, having the training is not enough. No. You know, sometimes as leaders, I've gone through that a lot. This was one of my struggles. Is that I would say, okay, I will delegate this to you. But 10 minutes later, I can say, no, that's not how it's done. Let me show her. I did not let you operate. I did not give you time for you to do it. So not only do I train you, I position you. So I give you the training, and then I give you the position. The training gives you the ability. The position gives you the authority. Okay? So I give you the training so you are able to do it. Now I position you so you are now authorized to do it. To do things that I want to do. Listen carefully. It's not that I don't want to do. It's the things that I want to do. I want to do it, but I'm going to let you do it so you take the credit. That's empowering. That's empowering. And And when you are creating a leadership culture, you can scale faster if he's ready to go at any time. Or he is empowered. He must be empowered. Now, here's the thing. His success, he takes the credit. As a leader, his failure is my responsibility. Okay. As a leader, your success, you take the credit. But as a leader, your failure is my responsibility. You say, what are you talking about? Simple. Think about the army, Marines, right? There is a general. The general is in charge. The general, he's in command. He's giving the orders. He's following the tactics. He's drawing the plans, right? He sends me out on a mission. If I'm going to save Chison, right? If I'm going to save your life and I put my body against a grenade and I save you, they give me a Purple Heart. They didn't give it to the general, they gave it to me. But if I go and I get ambushed and we fail because my general failed to give me the right information, he's responsible for my failure, not me. I went in the wrong place because of the leader that I had. Okay, so your success as a leader or as a follower, right? Your success, you take the credit, but your failure is my responsibility. That's empowering. I invest resources to train you, position you to do the things that I want to do. I want to do it. I want to be in front with the microphone. I want to be behind the camera. I want to be the one writing whatever that is I have to be written. I want to be the one opening the door. So that's what it is. Whatever that is, I allow you to do it so you can take the credits. And when you create a leadership culture, you can scale faster because he's ready to go. He's ready to go. He's ready for the opportunity. Why? Because it is better to be ready for an opportunity without having one than to have an opportunity and not be able to take advantage of it because you're not ready. Okay? And that's why you can scale faster. Now, most organizations have a limiting capacitor called the limiting capacitor that is not enough, called not enough leaders. They don't have enough leaders. They have a deficiency in leaders. Most leaders, they don't focus on creating leaders. Most leaders don't create leaders. They just go and forget about creating leaders. The only thing limiting the future of any organization, and I'm using the word organization because I don't want to single out anything, you put the name. This is so real here as it is real in your family. Trust me. And it's real in your relationships. I can prove it to your friends in all of that. The only thing limiting the future of an organization is the number of leaders they can develop. Everything, and the pastor alluded to this earlier, everything rises and falls on the leadership. Everything rises and falls on the leadership. Now, there is something really important. There is a characteristic of a leadership culture. It's called a bench. Creating a leadership bench. Why do you want to create a leadership bench? And this picture is not so clear here, but the background in that picture, if you cannot see it, yeah, it's clear there. Okay, it's the Golden State Warriors. I like sports. I use sports a lot because there is a lot of leadership lessons in sports. It's very visual. And I was doing some research when I was putting together this presentation. And I learned that the Golden State Warriors is not only the best team in the NBA because of the starters that they have, it's the best team in the NBA because of the bench they have. And when you have a leadership culture, when you are creating leadership culture, it's important that you create a bench. What does that mean? Let me give you an example here. This is facts according to my friend Google.com. Okay. The Golden State Warriors can sit their 5 starters every single game for 14.2 seconds. Think about that. Think about that. They can sit down, their starting lineup, every single game, 82 games for the season, they can sit down every single game for 14.2 seconds and still make it to the playoffs. You know what that means? When you put 14.2 seconds, that's over a quarter. Their bench is so strong that Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, Iguodala, Green, Thompson, they can sit down. Maybe not at once, but they can rotate, right? For 14.2 seconds. That's a quarter of a game. And the team still goes because the bench is deep. They have a deep, strong bench. Let me ask you a question. Can you afford to sit down for a quarter of a year? Would the organization continue to run as it's running now? If you go, for some reason, you disappear for 3 months out of the year? When you create a leadership culture, you need a bench. Now, let me give you some characteristics of how to build a bench, why it's important. Why it's important that you have a bench. So, characteristics of having a leadership culture is having a leadership bench. And I'm going to give you 4 points specifically. Number one, I just mentioned that great teams have great depth, meaning that they have a lot of, they're deep into their bench. They have people that they can reinforce. Number two, there must be more intentionality about creating leaders. So you're training people, you have them ready to go. They're right there, line up because they're ready to go. And how you do that? You do that by teaching leadership early on. Early on. Each leadership position must be 3 deep. Every position must have at least 3 people lined up, ready to go at any time. Because what happens if Misael is not there? Well, somebody else is going to replace him. And what happens if that person is not there? Well, somebody else is going to replace him. We're here in New England. If you like football, or if you ever heard of a guy called Bill Belichick, the Patriots, they have a saying. What do they say? Next man up. Next man up. Amendola goes out, next man up. That's what they say. Brady go out, next man up. Gronk goes out, next man up. That's what they say. So that's the question that we need to be asking ourselves. Can I say right now, next man up? Can I say right now, next man up? Leadership is always in need. There's always a need for leadership. Always. How do you build a leadership bench? Number one, attracting. I alluded to this early. Attract people that are overqualified for the position that you are hiring. So you attract. Number two, recruiting. Attract the right people. Attract people with a leadership mentality, that have a leadership mindset. You must be able to attract people that are successful somewhere else. Create a culture so good, so strong, so attractive that people can see from the outside and say, I want to be there. Create a culture that attracts people that have success somewhere else. It's about empowerment. I talked to you about that. Now let's talk about how do we develop a leadership culture very quickly. And for that, I'm going to give you what we call the 6 C's of culture. The 6 C's of culture. Now, everybody, all of you, received a blank card, right? When you came in. Yeah, please pull it out because we're going to use it. Pull it out. We're going to use it. See, if you're regularly and systematically developing leaders, it becomes part of your culture. It becomes part of your culture. So the first step on building a leadership culture is to define it. That's the first step on building a leadership culture, is to define it. If people don't know the target, how will they know? How will they know when they hit it? Right? If people don't know where you're going, how will they know when you arrived? Right? What are you aiming for? What's the goal? Where are we going? What's the target? How would I know that we arrived? So here's a question that I commonly ask. And I believe I ask Kola or Pastor Emeka this. And I say, how do I know that I'm serving you? How do I know that I'm serving you? What signals will you give me? What type of results will I have? What is the product of me serving you? How do I know that I'm serving you? Because there must be something. So if the people don't know where they are going, how will they know when they arrive? So the first thing is to define it. The first thing is to define it. And the second thing for you to do that is for you to then model that, to live into that definition. You have to live into that definition. You must live that definition. You define it, and second, you live that definition that you have. So with your cards, I want to take 30 seconds very quickly. I want to do an exercise. I want you to pull that card out, and if you have a pen, that will be helpful. But I'm going to give you 30 seconds. D, would you be my timer, please? Would you have a cell phone? Would you give me 30 seconds? Let me know when you're ready. And here's what I want you to do. I would like for you to give me the definition. Listen carefully. The definition. And let me preface this. Let me go back. This exercise is not to judge you. It's to increase your awareness. It's to make you aware of areas of improvement. I'm not here to call you out on anything. I'm here to serve you. I'm here with a friendly mentality, right? Sometimes I may get excited a little bit and raise my voice, but that doesn't mean I'm mad or angry at you, okay? So this is not an exercise for you to feel judged. Trust me, I have many areas in which I need to improve myself, okay? Now, we're gonna take 30 seconds, and what I would like for you to do, listen carefully, is to give me RCCG, right? RCCG's definition of leadership. How does RCCG defines leadership? We ready? Okay, so we're gonna take 30 seconds, and I want you to do that for me. How does RCCG defines leadership? And I want you to write it down. Okay, you're gonna write it down. We're gonna have 30 seconds. Oh, start right now. And time's up. Okay, very good. All right, so I want maybe 2 or 3 volunteers that would like to share with me or with everybody what you wrote. Who would like to share what you wrote? Okay, let's start with the gentleman here. Sir, what is your name? Keith. Keith, okay.
Creates the atmosphere for you to succeed.
Excellent. Creates the atmosphere for you to succeed. Who else would like to share? Who else would like to voluntarily share? Yeah, go ahead, please.
I wrote the train and equip.
Train and equipped. Okay, good. Fantastic. Who else would like to share? Voluntarily share. Yes, sir, go ahead.
RCCG pays more attention on people being born again and filled with the Holy Spirit.
So it pays more attention to people. Right? Focuses on people. Fantastic. Good. Who else would like to share? The gentleman right here.
Faithfulness and teachability.
Faithfulness and teachability. Okay. The definition of leadership. Okay. So one more. Let's take one more. Let's take one more. Who else would like to share? Voluntarily share.
Follow up.
Follow up. Okay. So that's the definition. We'll follow up. Okay. Who else would like to share? Anybody else? Okay. One more over there. Thank you, sir.
Spiritual authority.
A spiritual authority. So the definition of leadership here is a spiritual authority. Now let me ask you, what did you notice in this question or these answers? By the way, there's no right or wrong answer. What did you notice?
Everybody's saying different stuff.
Everyone is saying different things. Your answer, Keith, is not wrong. The gentleman right here, he's not wrong. Your ma'am, you're not wrong. My friend out there, you're not wrong. None of you are wrong. But here's the thing. You cannot build what you cannot articulate. Okay? You must have a singular definition of leadership for everybody. The pastor's wife, I'm sorry, your name again? Okay, First Lady. The First Lady. Very good. I like that. Thank you. So, Mrs. First Lady, she said, he stole my answer. That's actually good. That's actually good that she said, he stole my answer. No, everybody should have answered to the T exactly the same thing. Because it is your definition of leadership here in this house. And you will not be able to build leaders unless you have the definition. Let me tell you why. If I bring a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old like my child is, right? And I ask him, how do you know that you want to become a leader when you're 30? How does a leader looks like to you? He would not know because he doesn't have a definition of that. But if you ask him, how do you know that you're going to celebrate Thanksgiving when you're 30? So I'm going to bring a turkey, we're going to have apple pie and all that. Because at 8, he already knows what he's going to do at 30 when it's Thanksgiving. Are you getting the picture? So when you define leadership, it must be a unique 100% definition of all of you that you can communicate from the bottom to the top. Your leadership culture must be taught at the lowest level, not at the highest level, at the lowest level. How do I know that I want to become a leader at RCCG? How do I know that? How do I know that? How do I know that I want to become a leader at RCCG? How do I find that out? What's the definition? What do they do? What's the model? What's the behavior? What's the language? So that must be taught at the lowest level. Must be taught at the lowest level. Now, let's talk about, so you cannot build what you cannot articulate. Remember that. You cannot build. If you cannot define leadership, it will be really hard, very difficult for you to build leaders, for you to make leaders and build a leadership culture. It's going to be really difficult if you don't have a definition. If you don't have that definition. Now let's talk about the 6 C's of character, or the 6 C's of culture. And the first one is character. First C is character. And this is something that, it's not what we talk about. It's something that I am. Character is being it. Okay? Character is being it. What is character? I talk a lot about character. Character is one of my favorite subjects. And the best way to explain it is this way. In New York, there is a very popular statue. What's the name of that statue? Statue of Liberty. And physically speaking, from the posture of that statue, in what position is that statue right now? Standing like that, right? Okay. Was it like that yesterday? If we still here in this world 10 years from now and the statue is still standing, is it going to be in the same position? Now, which of you is in New York right now? None of you. None of us. So how do you know that?
We've seen it in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been there, magazines, right? You experience it. But more importantly, because a statue is a character. And that's character. Character is when I know your position, even if I'm not looking at you.
Yeah.
What would you say when I get out of here, go home, about me? It's not only the position physically, but the position of your heart. So character is your position, even If I know your position, even if I'm not looking at you. So character is not talking about it. Character is being it. It's being it. You be it. Before you talk about it, you be it. So the first C to build a leadership culture is that you are what you preach. Right? You are what you teach. And that's why at the beginning, I like to invite you to put in action what is acts. Because I first apply it, change it, and then I teach it. I first apply it, change it, and then I teach it. Everything has to go through me. When I preach at my church here in Worcester, I always tell to the church, listen, the word that I'm going to share with you, I ask the Lord to either, it's something that already processed me, or I'm going through that. It's either or. I don't want to teach on fantasies or something that is not relevant. I ask God, give me a word that had already processed me, or that I'm going through that, so I can speak from experience, from tested experience. I can speak to you with relevance. Now, the second C is clarity. All right? Clarity. So first you be it, then you show it. It's about you showing it. You have to show it. You have to get out in front of the people and you show the people what you mean. So don't say what you mean, show what you mean. Okay? Show the people that you love them. That you love them. Show them that you're pulling for them. Show them what it means to produce. What does that mean? No job is below your pay grade. Right? Our definition of leadership is serve. That's what we call it, serve. Right? And serve is for service. Service. The E is for excellence. Everything we do it with excellence. We exceed expectations. We do it with excellence. Right? The R is for responsibility. We are responsible. Responsibility, the pastor spoke about that. Responsibility, my ability to respond. My ability to respond. Do you know your responsibility? Do you know your responsibility? Or are you willfully, right, as the pastor said, are you willfully neglecting to take care of your responsibility? There's two things. So, responsibility. The V is for value. We value people. We are people of value that see value in others and add value to them. Okay? We are people of value that see value in you. I see value in you, and because I see you as a valuable individual, I invest my value in you. Listen that I didn't use the word spend. Leaders don't spend, leader invests because there is a return. Okay? So as a leader, you don't spend your time with people, you invest your time in people. Because there has to be a return from my investment. So the V is for value. And the other E out of serve is for environments. I foster a growth environment. An environment in which you can grow. That you will thrive. Right? An environment where people are ahead of you, are faster than you, are stronger than you. When you are the strongest in the class, you are in the wrong class.
Yeah, stronger than your teacher.
Okay. So that's serve. So that's the definition of leadership for us. The third thing is communication. You have to say it. Say it. Say it. Say it. Say it. Say it and say it again. Did I say it? I have to say it and say it once again. And you say it, you have to constantly talk about your culture. If you have kids, you know that by the time they reach 5, you repeated the same word like 1,000,000 times. Right? And you get up in the morning and you say, hey, this is how it's done. And by the time they get to school, you said it like 1,000 times. The same thing. Why? Because you're communicating. And leaders don't communicate from their position. Leaders communicate from the follower's position. I don't lead you from where I am. I lead you from where you are. I go down to your level and I connect with you. All right? I know probably I'm going to get off camera very quick, but you know when my children enjoy me the most? When I do this. Get on the floor, play with them at their level. Play with their toys. right? I act like I'm Mickey Mouse or whoever, right? Sonic the Hedgehog, right? Legos that there's a million pieces and you find them everywhere, right? So they enjoy me the most when I'm here. It's the same thing as a leader. This is what leadership is. Leadership is not telling you, hey, come talk to my pedestal, to my position. No, leadership is, let me find you where you are so I can take you where you could be. So it's communication. You have to communicate, not at my level, at your level. At your level. The other thing is contribution. The 4C of the six C's of culture is contribution. It's about pulling your weight. You own it. You own it. When the leaders of a team start owning the whole work of the team, not relying on the leading leaders, listen to this, do it, right? The whole thing gets better. The strength of the entire becomes preserved. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. When your leader is sitting right there, you begin owning your contribution, the pastor can go out and open a new house. Why? Because he's confident that the leaders are going to pull the weight. He doesn't have to come in and open the door and vacuum because nobody's doing it. He doesn't have to come in and turn on the lights and clean the bathroom because nobody's doing it. No, no, no. When the leaders of the organization do not rely on the leading leaders, then the leading leaders can focus on a bigger vision, on a bigger picture. They can go out and get bigger things because us at the lower level, we're doing our job. It's contribution. When was the last time that you roll your sleeve and you say, hey D, I know that I'm not supposed to do that, but I see you struggling. Let me help you with that. You know what, ma'am or sir or my friend, I see you clean the bathrooms all the time. I'm going to come in for you next time. I'll do it for you. I'll help you out just so you can finish 30 minutes earlier and go home with your family. Oh no, I'm too important for that. That's not my job. That's not contribution. That's not culture. Leadership culture, you contribute. Number 5 is consistency. It's about consistency. You must be consistent. Day in, day out. Day in, day out. Consistency. Motivation gets you going. Consistency keeps you growing. It's like marriage. We'll get married, happily in love and all that. And I hope everybody stays in love through their marriage. But you must be consistent. Find new ways. Spark it a little bit. Go on vacation. Take some time off. Lose some money, but spend some time with your family. Right? Don't win all the arguments. Don't win all the arguments. Helen, my wife, once told me this, Pastor. Because, you know, I can talk. Especially in Spanish. I seem to speed up, you know, like my speed goes up like 3 times. I speak faster in Spanish for some reason, and we all talk at the same time. I don't even know how we understand each other. But that's just how our culture is. It just happens that way. But one day she looked at me and she said, you know what? You win all the arguments, but you could lose my love. Huh? Right? So you're winning all the arguments, but you may lose the influence. You're winning all the arguments, so you may lose the relationship. It's about consistency. Be consistent. Motivation gets you going. Consistency keeps you growing. Keeps you growing. Keeps you going in the direction that you want to go. It's about consistency. And number 6, it's about celebration. Celebration. You must celebrate. You must celebrate. What are you going to celebrate this year? What celebration will RCCG have this year? That's important because you're establishing benchmarks. And let me tell you why celebration is important. For example, I travel a lot. I take a lot of... You spoke to me, and in fact, I can show you. I took notes from what you were speaking earlier, Pastor. I have it, the paper, I have it in my bag with notes. And because what you were saying, you're speaking to me. Many times we go to work for what we love, and we lose what we love for going to work. Okay? You spoke to me. You did. Directly. I travel a lot. And I was just sharing with the pastor, I'm on the road for the next 3 weeks. I'll be in London on Monday. I come back on Friday, stay home for a couple days. I'll be in Arizona the following Tuesday. Come back for a couple days. I'll be in Dallas the following week after that, 2 weeks from now. And it goes on. So after that, we go and we go out of our house to work for what we love, but also we lose what we love because of work. Right? So one of the things I do, of course, there is an opportunity cost. And my wife and I, we made agreements. My wife and I, we've known each other for 18 years. We met in 2000 in the Dominican Republic. We were in the same church. I came here first in 2003, then I was able to bring her here in 2007. So we've been together half of our lives. We've been together for 18 years, married for 11. All right? So we communicate. We put effort into communicating. And there is an opportunity cost. But now, one of the things is that I do is that I predict vacations or time off that we're going to take. I predict that. Why? Because when you have a celebration in mind, the works get easier. Right? When you know that the celebration is coming, hey, we're going to the Cape in May. We're going to the Cape in May. We're going to stay there for 4 days, do this, do that. We're going to the Cape in May. The work in January, February, March, April is easier, feels easier, because I'm looking forward to the celebration. Hallelujah. Right? So the question is, when are you going to celebrate? Now, the importance of celebration is not only important because you're going to relax and you're going to celebrate. No. It's because when you know what you're going to celebrate, you're also starting with the end in mind. So what will you accomplish in 2018 that you're going to celebrate next year? That's what celebration tells you. That's what celebration tells you. For example, $50,000, right? You will celebrate saving $50,000, and that will keep you motivated because you know you're going to see that 50000 in your account. Man, that's great. You know you're starting with the end in mind. You have an ending picture. You know where you're going. Right? So it's about that celebration. So the question is for the leaders, what will you and your team celebrate this year? What will you and your team celebrate this year? The celebration, the anticipation of the celebration says what it is that you're going to accomplish. Because remember what John said, you don't celebrate without finishing. Right? So it's about that. It's about that. It's about character, clarity, communication, contribution, consistency, and celebration. All right? I'm gonna leave it at that for you today. I want to just share with you something very quickly. Very, very quickly. Starting, we talk about how to build leadership culture. And here's important. This is important. It's the last point that I want to make. Very last point. You need to establish a way to measure what you're doing. If it's not measured, it doesn't get done. What is measured gets done. And this is important. This is Super Bowl against Atlanta, Patriots Atlanta. You remember down by 25 on the halftime. Everybody thought that the game was over, right? This is James White scoring the very last touchdown. Why is he diving? Why didn't he just run? Why is he diving? Because he knew where he was according to the measurements of the field. He knew that he was only a yard or two away from the touchdown line. Can you dive into your accomplishments? Do you know where you're standing right now? How far are you from your goals? Do you know that? Can you dive or do you need to jump? Can you jump or do you have to run? Can you run or do you have to wait for a few more days, weeks, or months? Right? If it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get done. it has to get measured. It has to get measured. Okay? Very important. Very briefly, I want to tell you, and this is something I share. I ask a pastor and call it if I could do this. One of the things I do a lot of classes. I do what I call master class. Okay? And starting on the we have one in Spanish on the 29th, but the 3rd of April, we're starting this class. This is the book that John just released, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. Okay, and this is a class, it's virtual class. It's you can call from home, wherever you are. All the calls are recorded. Every single call is recorded, and you can download it as an MP3 after the call. Okay, and it's a 5-week class. We're gonna go through the book on a 2-chapter per week. It's a class that I teach for an hour and a half every week, and we're gonna go through this book on a 5-week course. All the calls are downloaded. You can download it. And I want to invite you. I want to challenge you. And I want to invite you to join me and a group of people from around the U.S. to grow and to develop ourselves as a leader. Now, because your pastor and because Carla were so nice to invite me into this, what I'm willing to do for this is that we're going to eliminate that price. That price that you see there for $149 per person and $249 per couples, we're going to eliminate that price. And for the next 24 hours, I made a link. If you go to ilead.misaeldiaz.com, it's called ilead.misaeldiaz.com, you can enjoy this class for $99 per person or $149 per couple. If you join the class within the 24 hours, I will mail you a copy of the book and the material that I hand digital, I will send it to you physically. Okay, so I will give you a copy of the book hardcover, and I will send you the material. It's about 69 pages long. The workbook, I will send it to your address so you don't have to even print it. I will send you both for $99 per person, $149 per couple. That's available at ilead.misaeldiaz.com for the next 24 hours. Only available to you. Thank you for your invitation. I hope you find value in this. Thank you for your time. Have a great day. Thanks. Thanks, man.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Let's give another round of applause.